Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the ROH Death Before Dishonor review. And yes, I did manage to watch the show. They put up a link for the show, so I ended up watching it. And the show was from the Tsongas Center. I think that's how you pronounce the name of the arena in Lowell, Massachusetts. And this show was absolutely awesome. This was a great show, and never watched Ring of Honor before. This was my first time watching a Ring of Honor show, and Tony Khan delivered with this show. And I am still in excitement from the main event that we just saw, which was the 2 out of 3 falls match for the ROH World Tag Team Championship. FTR defend the titles against the Briscoes. This was a rematch from their Supercard of Honor match that they had. And I'm saying this right now. This match is match of the year. This is one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. The match was a classic. FTR and the Briscoes worked really good here. Absolutely amazing wrestling from FTR and the Briscoes. A lot of memorable spots in the match. This match will forever be remembered. The fans will be talking about this match for years to come. If you guys haven't watched this match on the pay-per-view or didn't get to see it, watch this match. It is absolutely great, perfection, and it's one of the greatest tag team matches I have seen. So it's a 10 out of 10 classic. But other matches that we got on the card, we had 4 matches on the pre-show. We had Colt Cabana versus Anthony Henry. We have the Trustbusters, Ari Daivari and Slim J. Ari Daivari is going to be making his debut in AEW soon. So they end up taking on the Shinobi Shadow Squad, Cheeseburger and Eli Isom. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. We had a 6-man tag where it was the Embassy, Brian Cage, and the Gates of Agony, Jasper Kahn and Doa Leona. And they end up taking on Alex Zayne, Blake Christian, and Tony Deppen. Or Deppen, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And we also saw Willow Nightingale versus Allysin Kay. And that's the only match that I saw on the pre-show. I wanted to watch the whole pre-show, but as soon as I clicked the link, buffering, as I watched the other Colt Cabana and Anthony Henry match. And the stream didn't get better until the Willow Nightingale and Allysin Kay match. So as for the regular matches that were on the card, we had Claudio Castagnoli versus John Gresham for the ROH World Championship. The ROH World 6-Man Tag Team Championship was on the line, where Dalton Castle and the Boys versus the Righteous. We had the ROH Pure Championship on the line, where Yuta defended the title against Daniel Garcia in a pure wrestling rules match. We had Brother versus Brother, Roosh versus Dragon Lee. We had the ROH Women's World Championship on the line, where Mercedes Martinez defended the title against Serena Deeb. And we also saw the ROH World Television Championship, Samoa Joe defending the title against Jay Lethal. So those were your matches for Death Before Dishonor. Overall, awesome show this was from beginning to end. let's jump right into the review. So I'm going to start with the matches that were on the pre-show, or as they called it, 0 hour. So the first match on the pre-show 0 hour was Colt Cabana versus Anthony Henry. And, watching this match, didn't get to enjoy it a lot because the stream was just buffering and buffering and buffering. So couldn't enjoy the match here. It was nice to see Colt Cabana here. It's been a while since he's been on TV. He hasn't been on AEW because of CM Punk being there, and Cabana and Punk, they had their issues. But Colt Cabana ended up winning the match. He defeated Anthony Henry. So it's good that Colt Cabana got a win. But next match was the Trustbusters, Ari Daivari, and Slim J. They ended up taking on the Shinobi Shadow Squad, Cheeseburger, and Eli Isom. And the Trustbusters ended up winning. I said Ari Daivari, he's going to be making his debut in AEW soon. But did not watch the match. I just shut off the stream and waited until, it would stop buffering. And then I tuned in, right as the Will Nightingale and Allysin Kay match started. Next was the Embassy, which was Brian Cage and also the Gates of Agony, Jasper Khan and Doa Leona. And they have taken on Alex Zayne, Blake Christian, and Tony Deppen. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. This was a 6-man tag, and the Embassy ended up winning. You had Prince Nana there. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But, this is Tully Blanchard's stable, and Prince Nana actually ended up purchasing Tully Blanchard's stable, Tully Blanchard Enterprises. And I guess they did that because maybe Tully Blanchard doesn't want to travel full time. And so Prince Nana ended up, purchasing, Tully Blanchard's stable, the Tully Blanchard Enterprises. But Khan and Toa, the Gates of Agony, they are great in the ring. And then, we went to Will Nightingale versus Allysin Kay, which I did see. This was the last match on the pre-show 0 hour. And this was, a decent women's match here. Will Nightingale, she did good here. Allysin Kay is the first time I've seen her wrestle, and she's not bad, in my opinion. So the match started with Allysin Kay and Will Nightingale end up doing a test of strength. Both of them, they end up locking up. Allysin Kay ended up stopping Nightingale in her tracks. She was doing, flurry of moves on Will Nightingale. Will Nightingale ended up fighting back against Allysin Kay. And Nightingale ended up catching Kay with a gut-wrench powerbomb. And she ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Will Nightingale ended up winning the match. Overall, I thought this was a decent women's match. Will Nightingale picking up the win. She's good in the ring. And Allysin Kay, she's not bad in the ring. It's the first time, like I said, that I've seen her in a match. But it was decent. And then, now for the regular matches on the card. So Death Before Dishonor opened up with the ROH World Championship on the line. John Gresham defended the title against Claudio Castagnoli. And I was shocked that this match was opening up the show. Because I thought this would be a 2 main event, meaning that this match should have went on before FTR versus the Briscoes. I think it would have been a double main event, like you would have Samoa Joe versus Jay Lethal for the ROH World Television Championship, and then you would have, Claudio Castagnoli versus Jonathan Gresham for the World Championship, and then have FTR and the Briscoes main event. So I thought they would do it that way. But like I said, I was shocked to see that this match kicked off the show. William Regal was on commentary during the match. This was a very good match with Gresham and Claudio Castagnoli here. You had Prince Nana out there at ringside. He's managing Jonathan Gresham. So you had Claudio start off the match. He ended up using his strength to take Gresham down. Claudio used his strength again on the ropes and sent Gresham back into the ring from the apron. You had Claudio doing the spin to Gresham, which the crowd ended up counting how many spins that Claudio was giving Gresham. So Gresham found a way to take Claudio down. He ended up focusing on Claudio's legs. So Gresham ended up finding ways to take Claudio off his feet and keep him, grounded. Claudio then started to get momentum, after he did the swing on Gresham. So Claudio ended up delivering the Rigola bomb to Gresham at the end of the match. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Claudio Castagnoli won the match, and he is the new ROH World Champion. And this is the first time Claudio has ever won a world title. So he had the shocked look on his face after, he won. He had confetti shooting out. That whole celebration of, Claudio winning the world championship is going to be memorable. It was awesome. Glad that finally in his career, Claudio is now a world champion. It's been long overdue. He could have been world champion in WWE, but they didn't want to give it to him. But happy for Claudio picking up his first ever world championship win. But very good match this was. And then we went backstage. Daniel Garcia was being interviewed. Daniel Garcia ended up saying that he was going to win the ROH Pure Championship. And he was going to take it to the big leagues in AEW. So, of course, Daniel Garcia is taking on Wheeler Yuta in a Pure Wrestling rules match. That was what Daniel Garcia had to say. And then we had a 6-man tag where the ROH World 6-Man Tag Team Championship was on the line. The Righteous, Vincent Dutch and Bateman defended the title against Dalton Castle and the Boys, Brandon and Brent Tate, which we saw Dalton Castle and the Boys compete at Battle of the Belts 2 back in April. And the Boys, coming out in their attire looking like Lady Gaga. Yeah, but the whole Dalton Castle and the Boys coming out, their attire, it's just cringy, in my opinion. It was absolute cringe. But they are good in the ring. And this was a good match here. This was a good 6-man tag. You had Dalton and Vincent from the Righteous. They started off the match, both guys with the legal men. Vincent ended up getting the better of Dalton Castle, just taking him down. We had the boys, Brandon and Brent. They ended up trading tags. Dutch ended up becoming the legal man in the match, and Dutch ended up getting caught with a big double lariat by the boys. And he had Dalton Castle was like, "Who wants a boy?" So then the boys started going in, now taking out the Righteous. So it's like, you get a boy, and you get a boy, and you get a boy, and you get a boy. And Brennan and Brent were just going all out, just taking out the Righteous, taking out all three guys. Dutch ended up diving over the top rope. He ended up taking out Brandon and Brent. And the Righteous were in control of the match at this point. So at the end of the match, Dalton Castle, he ended up delivering a bangarang facebuster to Bateman. And he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Dalton Castle and the boys won the match. And they are the new ROH World Six-Man Tag Team Champions. Overall, this was a good six-man tag, very entertaining. And already within the first half hour, 2 title changes took place. And then, of course, the Blackpool Combat Club now has 2 champions. Claudio Castagnoli just won the ROH World Championship, and Wheeler Yuta as the pure champion. And then we went backstage, and we saw Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. So they ended up cutting a promo, and basically Jay Lethal was just talking about how he's going to beat Samoa Joe for the ROH World Television Championship. Just going on about that. Pretty much, that was that. And then we had the Pure Wrestling Rules match. ROH Pure Championship on the line. Wheeler Yuta defending the title against Daniel Garcia. And this was another good match. Wheeler Yuta has come, a long way. I remember when, he was on AEW television, and they just kept on making him a jobber. And after he joined the Blackpool Combat Club, they changed Wheeler Yuta. This is not the Wheeler Yuta that we saw who was losing matches and basically was a jobber on AEW television. So I'm really glad that they went this route with Wheeler Yuta and put him in the Blackpool Combat Club. And, now that he's a part of that, he has been absolutely amazing. So now the rules of a Pure Wrestling Rules match is this. It is a singles match where each wrestler is allowed only 3 rope breaks. Once the 3 rope breaks are all used up, the wrestler cannot use the ropes to escape pins or submissions. Closed fists are illegal in the match. And if a wrestler uses a closed fist, it will cause them to be penalized a rope break. So they will lose a rope break if they use a closed fist. And if a wrestler is out of rope breaks, they will be disqualified. And the only way this match could be won is by pinfall or submission. And there was a timer there. But match started off with Wheeler Yuta, and he ended up getting the early advantage in the match against Daniel Garcia. William Regal was on commentary, and you saw Ace Steel, John Walters, and Josh Woods. They were the judges for the match. So Daniel Garcia delivered a headbutt to Wheeler Yuta to shake off Yuta's submissions. Daniel Garcia ended up dumping Yuta to the outside. He ended up sending Yuta into the guardrail twice. And Wheeler Yuta was just impressive in this match here. So both guys went back to the ring. Daniel Garcia ended up taking control of the match. So Yuta ended up fending off Garcia and went to work on him. He was focusing on wearing Daniel Garcia down. Daniel Garcia, at a point here, bit the ear of Wheeler Yuta. So Yuta fought back, and both guys ended up getting the crowd on their feet. The crowd was so into this match, and both Yuta and Garcia were trading slaps in the middle of the ring. So we had the first rope break used 14 minutes into the match, and Daniel Garcia ended up getting the first rope break. So Wheeler Yuta trapped the arm of Daniel Garcia on the mat, and he ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Wheeler Yuta ended up winning the match and retaining the ROH Pure Championship. So, overall, very good, entertaining match this was. Wheeler Yuta, just impressive here. And, that part there in the match with Daniel Garcia biting Wheeler Yuta's ear was crazy. But both guys gave it all they got in the match here. Wheeler Yuta still continues to be impressive in the ring. And then we had ROH versus Dragon Lee. This was brother versus brother. ROH was accompanied by Jose. So this was a very good match. This was one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. So ROH and Dragon Lee, both men, they ended up countering their moves. ROH ended up beginning to dictate the pace of the match. He delivered a drop kick, which sent Dragon Lee out of the ring. And ROH followed up with a dive over the top rope, taking out Dragon Lee, which was cool. Dragon Lee, this is the first time I've seen him wrestle. He's very good. And ROH sent Dragon Lee hard into the guardrail. ROH sent him back into the ring. Dragon Lee ended up retaliating and dived over the top rope, sending ROH crashing through the commentary table, which that was a awesome spot there. So both ROH and Dragon Lee, both guys went back and forth with each other. Both guys ended up trading chops to the chest on the ring apron. And ROH ended up sending Lee crashing down to the floor. And you heard a thump while Lee crashed to the floor. Dragon Lee got back up to his feet. He responded by delivering a Frankensteiner to ROH from the apron, which was cool. So both guys were back in the ring. ROH and Lee end up trading pinfall attempts. So ROH then end up sealing the win because he lured Dragon Lee, his brother, by playing possum. So ROH took advantage of that. And he ended up laying a low drop kick in the corner to Dragon Lee. He ended up going for the cover. And there you go. ROH ended up winning the match. Both guys here were great. ROH was very entertaining. And Dragon Lee, very good also. Like I said, it's the first time I've seen Dragon Lee wrestle, but he's very good also. Both guys, were great here. And the wrestling here, was great from ROH and Dragon Lee. That spot where Dragon Lee end up diving over the top rope, send ROH crashing through the commentary table was awesome. Overall, very entertaining match this was. And then we had Mercedes Martinez versus Serena Deeb. ROH Women's World Championship on the line. Martinez defending the title. This was a good match. Serena Deeb, she's not capable of having a bad match. And she's just great in the ring. Highly entertaining. So Serena Deeb ended up getting the advantage of the match, started grounding Martinez. Martinez ended up sending Serena Deeb out of the ring. And just very physical wrestling here from Deeb and Martinez. Deeb ended up delivering a spear to Martinez on the apron, and she ended up crashing down on the floor, which Deeb's arm probably hit a little bit of the apron as she landed down on the floor. So Serena Deeb ended up having control of the match, when she ended up getting back into the ring. So Mercedes Martinez ended up getting the momentum, and she ended up delivering a suplex to Serena Deeb. Deeb got back up. She started working on Martinez in the corner. So she ended up applying submission on the back of Mercedes Martinez in the middle of the ring. Martinez shifted the momentum, and Deeb ended up countering by biting Martinez's arm, which that was crazy there. So Martinez ended up making Serena Deeb tap in the center of the ring with the breast city sleeper, and there you go. Mercedes Martinez ended up winning the match, retaining the ROH Women's World Championship. I thought Serena Deeb was going to win it. Serena Deeb winning the ROH Women's World Championship would have been great. And hopefully she gets another shot for it. Because when you look at Serena Deeb, you see her as, a champion. She held the NWA Women's Championship. But Mercedes Martinez, retaining the title, it's decent. So, I would have loved to see Serena Deeb win the match and be the new ROH Women's World Champion. But overall, it was a good match. And then we had the ROH World Television Championship on the line. Samoa Joe defend the title against Jay Lethal. So yeah, Jay Lethal, he came out along with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. And Jay Lethal was telling both of them, oh, go to the back. I got this on my own. So we saw Sanjay and Satnam, they ended up heading to the back. We had Jay Lethal end up making his way down. Samoa Joe's music ended up playing. Samoa Joe came out. And Samoa Joe ended up making a run down and just brawled with Jay Lethal on the outside. So the match didn't get underway because Joe and Lethal were just going at it with each other, just brawling. Jay Lethal ended up hitting 3 suicide dives to Joe. Joe then ended up powering through to smash Lethal. Joe then cleared off the timekeeper's table. And out of nowhere, Satnam Singh ended up coming out to save Jay Lethal and take out Joe. So Lethal had a chair. He placed the chair on Joe's shoulder. And he ended up ramming Joe's shoulder into the ring post. So the referee ejected Satnam. because the ref wouldn't start the match until Satnam ended up going to the back. So Satnam made his way to the back, and the match was on the way. Jay Lethal and Joe were in the ring. So Jay Lethal ended up connected on the lethal injection springboard cutter to Joe. He ended up going for the cover, and Joe ended up kicking out. So Joe then took control of the match. Jay Lethal ended up stopping Joe with the lethal combination. Joe ended up responding back to Jay Lethal and delivered a leg lariat from the top turnbuckle. Lethal ended up connecting with the lethal injection to Joe, and he ended up going for the cover, and Joe ended up kicking out of the lethal injection. So we had Sanjay Dutt end up coming out. Sanjay Dutt hopped onto the ring apron, and that allowed Jay Lethal to hit Joe with the World Television Championship. So Jay Lethal ended up going for the cover, and Joe ended up kicking out, and the crowd erupted at that. The crowd was so into this match. Once Joe came down and attacked Jay Lethal at ringside, they were just so into it, the crowd there. Jay Lethal ended up going for another lethal injection to Joe, but Joe ended up catching Lethal in a sleeper. Lethal ended up dropping down for the jawbreaker, and Lethal rolled up Joe, to which Joe kicked out. Joe ended up having Lethal in position for the Coquina clutch, to which Joe ended up locking it in on Lethal. Lethal ended up tapping out. So there you go. Samoa Joe ended up winning the match, retaining the ROH World Television Championship. A very good match this was. This was one match that I was looking forward to, and both Joe and Lethal delivered. Very good wrestling here from the both of them. And the crowd was so into this match. They were popping for Joe. Like when Joe locked in the Coquina clutch, the whole crowd erupted at that. Like when Lethal was doing his moves, the crowd was just silent for him. And then when Joe ended up getting a move in, they were just popping for him. But very good physical match this was. Glad that Joe is still the ROH World Television Champion. And then they went over to see on Dynamite on Wednesday. So Bryan Danielson will be back in the ring. So Bryan Danielson will be back on Dynamite Wednesday, and he will be taking on Daniel Garcia. So that should be a good match there for Bryan. And they also announced that ROH will face Jon Moxley for the interim World Championship. So that should be a very good match there. ROH is awesome. Him facing Moxley. That's going to be one hell of an entertaining match there. So that's what we're going to see this Wednesday on Dynamite. For Fight for the Fallen. Then we have the main event, which this main event was fucking awesome. Classic, 10 out of 10 match. This was one of the greatest tag team matches that I have ever seen, and this match will go down in history that people will be talking about for years to come. And this match is FTR versus the Briscoes, 2 out of 3 falls match for the ROH World Tag Team Championship. Just absolutely great freaking match this was. This was their rematch from Supercard of Honor. And this was one of the greatest matches in FTR's career and also for the Briscoes. FTR, they have come a long way You remember when they were in WWE, and after they got released, they were treated very good in AEW, and look where they are now. FTR are one of the greatest tag teams in pro wrestling now. So the match started off with both FTR and the Briscoes. Then started off. Harwood and Mark Briscoe end up beginning the match. Harwood was checked on early in the match by ringside personnel. Dax Harwood ended up taken back in. The pace of the match started to pick up. The Briscoes end up landing a double shoulder tackle on Cash Wheeler, and they end up keeping Wheeler in their corner. Wheeler ended up making the hot tag to Harwood, and Harwood delivered some hard strikes to the Briscoes. The Briscoes end up getting the first pin on Dax Harwood because they delivered the Doomsday device to him. So after that, the Briscoes went back to work on Harwood. Harwood's chest was bleeding from the chops that he received from the Briscoes. It looked like Harwood might have popped a blood vessel because it was bleeding like crazy. So the Briscoes then delivered the Redneck Boogie on Harwood and going for the cover, and Harwood ended up kicking out. So yet FTR end up leveling the falls with a big rig, and you had a point where Jay end up hitting Cash Wheeler with the ring bell, which that busted Wheeler open from his forehead. He was bleeding from that bell shot, that ring bell shot, which you heard the bell echo as soon as Jay ended up hitting it at Wheeler, in his forehead. So you also had, the Briscoes, they were bleeding. Dax Harwood was bleeding from, his eye up here. You had FTR end up landing another big rig, and you had them go for cover, and Jay end up kicking out. So the Briscoes end up landing another Doomsday, but they didn't win the match there. So Wheeler and Mark Briscoe ended up colliding on the top turnbuckle, and they crashed through a table on the outside, which was fucking amazing. Great spot there. The crowd erupted when that happened. So Harwood was in the ring, and he delivered a pile driver to Jay from the top turnbuckle, which looked awesome. And Harwood ended up going for the cover, and there you go. FTR ended up winning the match, and they retained the ROH World Tag Team Championship. So, awesome match this was. Classic. One of the greatest tag team matches I've ever seen. And if you guys didn't watch this match or missed it, go back and watch it. Absolutely amazing. It's a classic match. Just absolutely great. FTR and the Briscoes delivered here. Great wrestling. And it was a very exciting, intense, physical matchup here. This is definitely match of the year. Post-match, FTR invited the Briscoes into the ring to receive appreciation from the fans. FTR and the Briscoes then end up shaking hands. Harwood got on the mic, and he kept saying, "I love professional wrestling." And he kept saying that we'll see them on Dynamite this Wednesday. So that was that. And then we saw William Regal, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. They end up coming out to the stage. And looks like Castagnoli and Yuta want a shot at FTR. So it looks like we're going to be seeing that match come to at some point, where it's going to be FTR versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Man, that will be a fucking awesome match there. Take my money for that match. That's going to be insane. But overall, Death Before Dishonor, awesome show this was. Very good show from beginning to end. The highlights, Claudio Castagnoli winning his first ever world title. The main event, with FTR and the Briscoes, classic. Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia, that was awesome as well. Wheeler Yuta continuing to be impressive. Roosh and Dragon Lee, brother versus brother, was great. This was a very good show. This, in my opinion, was a 10 out of 10 show. Perfect 10. But anyways, that's it for my review of ROH Death Before Dishonor. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out my previous video if you guys haven't seen it. I reviewed Nope. So definitely check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. Uploaded it earlier today, but enjoyed the film. So check it out. But anyways, that's it for this review. And until next video, I'll see you all later.